Democracy works best when its voting system is free, fair, and accessible to all eligible voters, right? But voter participation in this year's midterm elections might not be as easy as it should be. Here are 3 voting laws that might keep some Americans from the polls. More states than ever are now requiring voters to show a form of photo ID when casting their ballots. So what's the big deal? Well, more than 1 in 10 U.S. citizens don't actually have one. This includes 25% of African Americans, 20% of 18 to 29-year-olds, and low-income voters, groups that traditionally vote Democratic. Supporters of voter ID laws say that they prevent voter fraud, except that voter fraud is extremely rare. Between 2000 and 2014, there were 31 incidents of voter fraud out of 1 billion ballots cast. And don't mess with Texas, because the Supreme Court recently sided with the state's lawmakers to enact voter ID laws in this midterm election. Texans now have to present one of 7 eligible IDs in order to cast their vote. And while a gun permit is considered an official ID, a university ID is not. And Texas isn't alone. A total of 31 states require IDs at the polls this year. Early voting is already underway, except that in some states, it's not all that easy. Voting early allows a person to cast a ballot on a day and time that doesn't get in the way of things like work or childcare. But in states like Wisconsin, politicians are fighting to reduce or even eliminate early voting. The state's Republican Governor Scott Walker recently cut weekend voting and nighttime voting. Backers of Walker's bill say that rural counties don't need weekend voting, so why should city folks be able to vote early when they can't? But here's something they don't mention. Voters in Wisconsin's biggest cities, Milwaukee and Madison, are disproportionately people of color. And Governor Walker is also in a tight gubernatorial race where the outcome will largely be determined by how many people come out to vote. And just to put early voting in perspective, in the 2012 presidential election, 1/3 of voters cast a ballot before Election Day. Oh, and African Americans are 26 times more likely to vote early. And then there's same-day registration, something offered in a small number of states. It allows folks to register and vote on the same day. Not only is it super convenient for people that have moved around a lot, most commonly low-income folks and young adults, it's also increased voter turnout, particularly among people of color. Is it any surprise then that some states have ended same-day registration? Take North Carolina, for example, one of the most important battleground states in the country. During the 2008 presidential election, 36% of same-day registration voters were African American, even though they represented 20% of eligible voters. Obama won the state by a small margin. And now, with a close Senate race whose outcome could determine which party controls the Senate as a whole, it seems every vote in North Carolina will count. So those are just a few examples of how voter restriction laws are playing out across the country. So is American democracy at its best if some voters can't even cast their ballot? Want more? Download the AJ Plus mobile app and join the conversation. Available in your app store now.